Pip, pip, tally-ho, Jules Guides here, in which I wander around London and tell you fascinating facts. And today we're in Crystal Palace, and it's called Crystal Palace because right over here there used to be a blooming great Crystal Palace, you know, the famous one. Come here, because back in 1851 there was this great exhibition in Hyde Park, and they had all these great inventions and exhibits there. Anyway, after the great exhibition, they didn't really want it in Hyde Park anymore, it blasted thing, so they moved the whole thing down to here. And it was up on this massive hill. It actually became this huge attraction where they had dog shows, cat shows, circus entertainment, orchestras. And down there, see, this whole area was taken up by loads of beautiful fountains and beautiful Italian gardens designed by Edward Milner. In fact, the cost of creating these gardens around here, which were magnificent, by the way, cost more than it cost to move the whole of the Crystal Palace from Hyde Park to here. We're with Kai today. Hello, Kai.
Hello, I've got my own mic today.
In fact, you see in that corner over there, you can see a replica corner of the palace. So that's one of the corners would have stood right there, and it kind of looked a bit like that.
How the hell do they move a palace?
I've no idea.
Crane?
I've no idea. I mean, it was a massive thing. I mean, it must have been like moving the, well, they took London Bridge to America, didn't they? Just over here, there's a museum which is closed, like everything. It's got some nice exhibits all about the history of Crystal Palace Park. It wasn't always called Crystal Palace. I mean, it's Upper Norwood, this. That's the Norwood Ridge. Then they decided to start calling it Crystal Palace after this huge palace. And you see this bit here, right? This whole bit here, this locked gate. This used to be a part of, I think this was part of the water tower. Hello! Because all those Italian fountains I was talking about, they required a lot of water pressure to push these fountains up in the air. And Brunel came along and he erected two huge towers. I mean, these were really massive. You could see them from miles away. There was one here and one on the other side over there. I must say, whilst we're just going up these steps, I must just ask everybody, don't forget to subscribe to the channel.
Oh, good idea.
And to follow me on my Instagram, which is @Jules Guides Official. A lot of people are watching through their television sets these days, and they don't know how to subscribe. Neither do I through a TV, but I believe you use your remote control. I think you hit the up arrow on your remote, or one of the arrows anyway, and then you'll see my logo on the left. And you have to navigate to that using the arrows and hit OK to select it. Then you have to use the arrows to navigate over to the subscribe button on the right-hand side and then hit OK on there as well. But it does make a big difference. It is important because then eventually, you know, I can be on Strictly Come Dancing. As it is, everyone's just going to ignore me. Now look, round the other side, on the other end, this is where the other tower would have been. It would have been just above this old aquarium here. This was a beautiful aquarium that was here in the 19th century. This kind of now looks a bit like abandoned Roman baths, doesn't it? I don't think there's any fish left in there, do you?
I can't see any.
And it's just at the bottom of the massive TV tower because Yogi Bear, who invented the TV, established his TV company here. Not Yogi Bear, John Logie Baird. That's what I meant, yeah.
I was wondering if that was a bit of trivia that I just didn't know. I didn't want to question you. I thought, oh, Jules knows what he's talking about.
Eventually, in about 1936, the whole of Crystal Palace burnt down. Thousands of people stood to watch the whole thing burn. Winston Churchill said that it was the end of an age. But more importantly, you'll probably recognise that TV tower from something else. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. You're only supposed to blow the bloody doors off. Kai? Kai? Hi? Come over here, Kai. You see that over there? That kind of structure? That's called the Crystal Palace Bowl. It's lots of famous people have performed there. The Beach Boys played there, Pink Floyd have played there on that stage. It's a really nice natural kind of auditorium, really. And that was the last place in London that Bob Marley performed in 1980.
Oh, really?
Quite nice, really. This is where there used to be a cricket pitch here. And yeah, W.G. Grace. It's hard to believe that W.G. Grace, you know the famous cricket player with a huge beard and a big stomach?
I don't know. I don't watch cricket.
He's the most famous Victorian cricket player. Anyway, he used to play here at the London County Cricket Ground, and he was actually regarded as the greatest sportsman in the world. It's hard to believe.
Did you really expect me to know a Victorian cricket player then?
Well, I thought that you might know W.G. Grace, because if you see a picture of him, if you just see any photograph of a Victorian cricket player, he's your man. It's the guy with a massive beard.
Okay,
yeah,
I can
it's always him. Back in around 1900s, this is where they used to play the FA Cup finals. Actually, Crystal Palace Football Club started playing, when they first started playing their matches, they were playing here. And in 1905, this is where the first England versus New Zealand rugby match took place. You'll be surprised to hear that New Zealand won 15-0. What a surprise. Nice here, isn't it, Kai?
Yeah, I'm really enjoying this.
It's like a nice holiday. It's a jolly holiday with Joolz.
You don't get this kind of weather normally.
Look, these are How Are You on Dinosaurs. Now look, which one's the iguanodon? I think it's that one there. Back in the 1850s, a lot of these dinosaurs had only just been discovered, and Benjamin Waterhouse Hawkins, he decided to create these amazing different types. So that actually, factually, some of them aren't technically correct. But this one here, for example, the iguanodon, when he had just finished them, he had dinner inside the iguanodon.
Oh, what, they hollow?
And he did a kind of self-portrait, but it was accompanied by a note. Because in the picture you can see that he's got all these different famous paleontologists and the signs above their heads to say who the people are. And they had an 8-course dinner. Do you want to know what they had for dinner? They had mock turtle. They had Julian. Julian
what?
for dinner.
Julian?
Julian.
I hope he didn't mind.
It must be consommé de Julien or something. Roast turkey ham, raised pigeon pie, boiled chicken, celery sauce. It was like an 8-course dinner. Pheasant, woodcock, snipes. Punch, the famous magazine, they reported, "We congratulate the company on the era in which they live, for had it been early geological period, they might perhaps have occupied the iguanodon's inside without having dinner there."
I don't get it.
You don't know? You remember Walk the Dinosaur Bus? What's that was?
No.
Open the door, get on the floor. Everybody walks a dinosaur.
Oh wait, I do recognise that.
Oh, let me pierce thy secret cell, and in thy deep recesses dwell. Perhaps from Norwood's oak-clad hill, when meditation has her fill, I just may cast my careless eyes where London's spiry turrets rise. Think of its crimes, its cares, its pain, then shield me in the woods again. These days you get these parish boundary markers, which I'm obsessed with, but in the old days you used to just have, I don't know, a river or a tree or something like that, and this is called the Vickers Oak. The Vickers Oak once stood close to this site and marked the meeting place of the parishes of Croydon, Lambeth, Camberwell and Battersea. Your local parish would be, well, I mean, there'd be a parish church and you'd know that you could gather firewood there, graze your cattle and all sorts of other things. And in 1900 they created these metropolitan boroughs. Bromley, Croydon, Lambeth and Southwark. They still meet.
So
at
if
this
we
point.
walked around that tree, we would be going through 4 different boroughs, is that right?
Yeah, I don't know if it's exactly this tree, but certainly if you did a kind of larger circle around here.
So you're travelling around London. What road do you live on then, Jules?
Vickers Road.
Oh, sorry, I was only asking.
When they first moved the Crystal Palace to here, they had 2 different stations for people to use. The one that you and I got off at, Kai, that was the lower Crystal Palace station, but then they also had this higher one up closer to where the actual Crystal Palace was, and you can see there used to be a railway that went all along here. You can still see the sides of it. Let's walk down. So people would arrive here, and there's actually still remnants of the old subway along here. You have to get in touch with the Crystal Palace Friends of Crystal Palace Subway. Go on their website, they can arrange for you to go and have a look at it in person, but it's always closed. Because, of course, when you see this railway cutting, you see how this used to be a railway. So they built houses all the way along what used to be the railway. There's the tunnel, in fact, where the trains used to go through. You live on an abandoned railway.
I know, this is the old platform, I think, isn't it? Here.
Oh, is this where the platform was?
This is where the third class people got out. I think the first class must have been at the front, and then they would come out and they go through this gorgeous
mosaic
tunnel.
subway underpass thing.
Have you been in?
No,
They
it's
don't
closed at the
open it.
moment.
Yeah, they don't open it very often.
In the 1950s, because people weren't using it anymore, they closed it down. I guess they didn't need it anymore since Crystal Palace had burnt down. There's a lot of hills in Crystal Palace. Why didn't anyone tell me? Around 1800, this was kind of like a little hamlet. It had about 20 or so cottages and little farmhouses knocking around. It was known as Norwood. I mean, Norwood was the North Wood. But the first pub that opened was called the Woodman. I think that was where Cooper's is now. They said that it had a window overlooking St Paul's Cathedral. I think you can see St Paul's from here. Can you see it? It's sort of on the left.
I don't know. Oh yeah, I can see it.
Earlier on we were in Bromley and now we're in the borough of Lambeth. Look, Woodland Road, that's in Lambeth.
That's the doing the lamp of
What? Oi!
Oi.
And this whole area around here, this area is called the Triangle. So there's this triangle of roads, which is Westow Hill, and there's Westow Street over there, and there's Church something or other over there. It was actually built up specifically for the construction workers who were building, or assembling the Crystal Palace over there. I think those houses over there were actually some of the 19th century workmen's cottages. And where the Royal Albert pub is, that's roughly where the windmill used to be. There used to be a big windmill there. Now, for centuries, the North Wood, or Norwood, was the home of the Roma, the Gypsies. They used to roam around England, I don't know, making money or whatever, but then in the colder winter months, they'd just stay around here. But at the bottom of Gypsy Hill, there was Margaret Finch, who was the queen of the Gypsies, and she was described as being a withered, wild and grotesque figure with bony claw-like hands, who lived with an emaciated terrier and smoked a pipe.
Was that a Tinder profile?
And many people used to flock to come and see her to get their fortunes told, including King George III when he was the Prince of Wales. And she used to sit there all withered and hunched over. And apparently when she died, age 109, with 16 children, she was still so hunched over they couldn't straighten her out. And so they had to bury her in a square coffin. And that's how they buried her, down at St George's Church in Beckenham. She died just before they introduced the Vagrancy Act. The authorities could arrest anybody who didn't have means of subsistence, and that would have included these gypsies. And also unlicensed peddlers, fencers, jugglers, bear wards, minstrels, fortune tellers, and gamesters.
But like, why would you arrest someone that's got no means of subsistence? That just seems so cruel.
It was cruel. Those were hard times back then. So eventually, many of them abandoned their traditional way of life and merged into the local community. Hello, can we come in?
You can indeed.
Oh, wow.
No, it's definitely. I've got bags everywhere.
What a cute little place. So it's an antiques market, it's always here then?
Yeah, we're here Thursday to Sunday, 4
Okay.
days a week, Hainslow Market.
What sort of stuff have we got in here then?
Well, it's a lot of glassware, as you can see. I specialise in crystal. But yeah, I like anything pre-1940s, really.
Okay, like me. Why
That's
no,
really
but look at they're all
nice.
too small. I want a bigger one. I'm too tall. Look, they're all the same height. I heard that if you look into the eye of a Norwood local, then you're looking into the eye of a gypsy. Are you a Norwood local?
I'm Beckenham.
Beckenham. All right, so it's like David Bowie sort of country. Read it yourself.
I know, lots of
Oh, Kai wouldn't remember this because he didn't read. Did you
I'm
have
not
these?
Victorian.
I'm not Victorian either. I definitely remember the Elves and the Shoemaker.
I mean, a real glass eye.
A Victorian glass
Real
eye.
glass eye.
How much for a glass eye?
I'm not ready to
Wait,
sell that.
Oh, you might need it.
Yeah, I might need it, never know.
Rosebud. You don't know what I'm talking about, do you, Kai?
I didn't get it.
Look at this one here. Yeah, this is the. This is a nice one, isn't it? On the corner of Lansdowne Place and Tudor Road, marking the boundary of what was a detached part of the parish of Battersea until 1855. This is something to do with the fact that King Edred, he was like a king around the year 900 or something, some Saxon king, gave a load of land, including Battersea, to some fella that he knew or something, and a part of this land as well. So this somehow became a part of the parish of Battersea, even though Battersea is about 7 miles away or something. I like the fact that that's called Tudor Road, and behind it you've got some typical kind of Tudor type crisscross patterns. You see, I think that's a Tudor motif. If I'm wrong, don't write in. It's this hill here, Fox Hill here, leading to Fox Farm, where it used to lead to Fox Farm. There's a famous painter called Pissarro. He's got a beautiful painting of this. I think it might be in the National Gallery, is it? Anyway, Pissarro used to live just up there on Westow Hill. And you can see how this was back in the 19th century.
I mean, you can see for quite a distance, can't you?
Oh yeah, up that way. I think that's the North Downs. Amazing, some of these beautiful houses down here. After they built the Crystal Palace down here, it became a very desirable area to live in. It was one of the only smog-free areas of London because it was so high up on the hill, all the smog settled down in valleys. And this is Church Road, Queen's Hotel. Well, this doesn't look very good with all the scaffolding over it, but this is where Émile Zola, the French novelist, back in 1898, when he accused the French government of being anti-Semitic in his pamphlet J'accuse, he had to come into exile here and he stayed at this hotel. There's so much green space in Crystal Palace. You can come down this lovely woodland walk, Stambourne Woods. I guess this must have been part of the Norwood, the Great North Wood. I suppose it would have all been like this. I bet you didn't expect to see Raymond Chandler's house over there, look.
Is he another Victorian that I don't know?
He wrote the detective stories with Philip Marlowe, quite often played by characters like Humphrey Bogart, The Big Sleep, The High Window, Farewell, My Lovely. You know, he's always... Anyway, Raymond hello.
I watch you on YouTube.
Hey, we're talking about your house.
Oh, brilliant.
Raymond Chandler was born in Chicago, but he was educated in London. He went to Dulwich College, and Philip Marlowe, who is probably his most famous character, I think he named him after Marlowe College, which is one of the houses or something in Dulwich College School, whatever it was. In the 1870s, there was quite a scandal because these graves, it was really, the graveyard was overflowing, and there were over 3,000 burials here, and it couldn't take that many. But the vicar was like pocketing extra cash for these illegal burials, and eventually these corpses had hands and stuff poking out. It was all a bit disgusting. But the gravedigger also swore that no, we've only buried 1,500 or whatever it was. But apparently, when they checked in the parish records or whatever, it was actually 3,000 people had been buried here. So it was quite a scandal. Here he is, Vice Admiral Robert Fitzroy, first head of the Meteorological Office, 1854. Robert Fitzroy was the captain of the Beagle, the famous ship that Charles Darwin sailed to Tierra del Fuego on. So Robert Fitzroy, he was actually the 4th great-grandson of King Charles II. I mean, it's quite sad. He killed himself in a house just up there. He slit his own throat. I mean, what a way to kill yourself. He slit his own throat just up there on Church Road. And his uncle also slit his own throat as well. And the previous captain of that ship also committed suicide. Apparently it was quite a sort of depressing thing going on these long voyages. I think it really did them in. But anyway, he was a great man. The wind goeth toward the south and turneth about unto the north. It whirleth about continually, and the wind returneth again according to his circuits. When you listen to the shipping forecast, Dogger, occasionally rough in the southwest, gale force 8. So they've got all these different areas. One of them is Dogger. One of them is Fitzroy, named after Robert Fitzroy, because he was the first person to call it a weather forecast. He set up the Met Office. Why did the butterfly flutter by? King George V, that one. Look at that, GR. Number 54, Beulah Hill. In 1966, when they stole the World Cup, you know the Jules Rimet trophy was being displayed up there at the Methodist Hall near opposite Westminster Abbey. I mentioned it in my Westminster video. Anyway, it got stolen. Fortunately, this little dog called Pickles found it. He found it in a hedge just somewhere along there, one of these hedgerows here. And good job he did, because it's the only time England ever won the damn thing. So, yeah, it was found by the dog Pickles, famous incident. If you're playing Jules Guide's Street Furniture Challenge, you get a lot of points around here. Because look, do my eyes deceive me? Is that not a stink pipe? Is it not, don't you think? I think that looks, look, it's not a lamppost, is it? That looks very much like a stink pole, which my regular viewers will know are these poles that were put into the ground to deliver the smelly fumes up from the sewers to stop them from exploding. These Victorian sewers, they had all these smelly pooey fumes that used to explode if you didn't let them out. So that would deliver it up above the Victorian public's heads. I think that looks like one. We're now walking down Hermitage Road, and ladies and gentlemen, she's a bit beaten up, but I think you'll get 10 points for spotting ERV111. King Edward VIII, quite unusual to spot a King Edward VIII postbox because he was on the throne for such a short time. I mean, it could do with a lick of paint. I think we should start the King Edward VIII Postbox Appreciation Society, because you don't get many of those around. I can tell you 10 points for spotting that one. Look, I found an oak tree here. I think it's an oak tree. I'm no tree expert.
But I say it's an oak tree.
You say it's an oak tree. I reckon it might be. Anyway, it could be, if it is, one of the last surviving oak trees from the Great North Wood, because this is where the king used to get his wood from to fit out the ships at Deptford Shipyard. And so it was from the oak trees around here that Sir Francis Drake, for example, fitted out his ship, the Golden Hind. I wonder if that is one. That would be nice.
That is an oak tree, I'm pretty sure. Oh, that's pretty cool.
Anyway, yeah, so look, I know I'm obsessed with these underground rivers, but Kai, you were in my video about Brixton, in which we talk about the Effra River, because the River Effra runs underground and it goes up to Effra Hill and up through Brixton. Anyway, it comes under here as well, and I think this little grate here underneath it, you can hear the River Effra running.
Oh, I can hear it.
Yeah, nice.
Wait. It's called the Effra because it leads to Heathrow, and the local dialect pronounced Heathrow as Effra.
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 Effra. Effra.
The
Yeah.
River Effra.
I like that.
Effra.
Is that true? I'm going to stick with that.
I don't know if it's true.
I'm going to stick with it. It's good enough for me. It's good enough for Jules Guides. Number 65, Central Hill, which is like the continuation of Westow Hill. This is where Mary Nesbit lived. Now, Mary Nesbit, she was like a courtesan back in the 18th century. They say she was born in a wheelbarrow in Covent Garden, and she actually featured in one of my favourite publications, Jack Harris's book of Covent Garden ladies, which is like Jack Harris was this famous, I don't know, he ran a brothel or something in Covent Garden, and he kept a book of all the ladies there who did and their various services that they would perform, how much they cost. A delicate, genteel lady of the first fashion and price, seldom to be seen in the street unless in a sedan chair. Her connections are mostly with gentlemen of rank and fortune, never less than 10 guineas, and half a crown for her servant. They say that she drove her husband, Alexander Nesbit, mad, and he killed himself. And then she had an affair with Augustus Harvey, who was the Earl of Bristol, who bought her loads of property. Essentially, she ended up owning most of the property on this side of the road, in this street here. And her main house was what is now down the road there. It's the school. It's the Fidelis Convent Senior School, where she used to entertain people like, well, even King George III had consulting rooms there, and Lord Shelburne, the Prime Minister. So she kept quite good society. Then she went to France during the French Revolution as a spy, and that's where she met Madame Tussaud, because Madame Tussaud was the art tutor of Marie Antoinette and the royal family over there. And once the revolution started, Madame Tussaud was given the rather gruesome task of making these wax casts of the aristocrats and the kings and queens when they had their heads chopped off, and she'd display them. So people wanted to see the heads of, Marie Antoinette after it had been chopped off, and she did the cast of that. Anyway, she ended up fleeing to Britain, where Mary Nesbit gave her this house over here. And it was from this house that she started her waxwork empire in England. Cheers, Kai. Cheers, everybody. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. If you're watching on a TV screen, use that weird arrow thing on your remote and scroll across and do whatever you have to subscribe, because it really makes a massive difference. It really helps me. And don't forget to check out my Instagram @JoolzGuidesOfficial, and see you next time. Cheers.